The Asus Zenbook 14 and 14X are great laptops, and in this video, I'm not only going to show you why, but I'm also going to explain why the 14X in particular is a groundbreaking device. I know that's a bold statement, but I believe it is one of the most important laptops that has been released in the last several years. And yes, even Apple needs to be super concerned about this device. So let's get into it. When you look at the two laptops, the Asus Zenbook 14 is noticeably smaller and lighter at 3.1 pounds. Although not the lightest 14-inch laptop that I've tested, I'd still consider it very portable. Size-wise, it's about the same physical size as a MacBook Pro 14 and larger than an Air 13 with M2. The 14X is noticeably larger and less portable. Its weight is similar to the MacBook Pro 14s, which is good, given it has a larger 14.5-inch screen versus the Mac's 14.2. However, due to that larger screen, it is physically bigger than the MacBook Pro 14. The lid of the 14 is minimal in its design with just a single Asus logo. The 14X, though, has some cool abstract lines. The hinge of the 14 lifts the laptop slightly off the table for better airflow and cooling. The 14X already sits a bit above a desk due to its large rubber feet. This lift design of the 14 makes its keyboard deck not as sturdy as the 14X. Overall, though, both laptops do feel very well built. But they are not in the same league as a MacBook or a Razer in terms of sturdiness and overall build quality. For example, when you run your fingers along the bottom edge of either laptop, you will notice the back panel is not totally flush with the rest of the laptop. Both laptops have great displays, stunning OLED panels with excellent color reproduction that is good enough for professional color work. They both have that desirable 16:10 aspect ratio, so you see a little more content for applications that go down the page. And they both are decently high resolution at 2880 by 1800 pixels. However, there are some differences that you must be aware of. The Zenbook 14 has a 14-inch display, whereas the Zenbook 14X has a larger 14.5. Both are bright displays, although the 14X is a little brighter at 380 nits, whereas the smaller 14 hits 360. As a point of reference, I would consider 400 nits bright in 2023. Side by side though, the display at the 14X looks noticeably better. The whites look whiter and it looks brighter than the measurements show. We originally thought that this was due to the display's white balance, but we read similar Kelvin readings on both displays. Our hypothesis is that it's due to a difference in the pre-installed color profiles. While we were digging around, we did notice that the 14's display supports 10-bit color, whereas the 14X's only supports 8. Both displays are fast refresh rate panels, so movement on screen looks smooth. However, the 14 only offers a 90Hz refresh rate and the 14X offers a faster 120Hz. At the end of the day, what's actually important is the amount of information you can see on screen without needing to squint. This is determined by many aspects of the display that I just mentioned. To test this, I opened Excel and found that I could comfortably see 37 rows on the Zenbook 14 and 40 rows on the 14X. This isn't the best result for the Zenbook 14. Most people will appreciate the extra information that they'll see on the 14X. One downside of most OLED panels is that they do employ PWM flickering to lower the brightness, i.e., they turn on and off the panel very quickly so it seems dimmer. On the 14, we could only detect this on low brightness settings, but on the 14X, it was detectable at almost all brightness settings other than the max brightness. Both laptops have excellent port selection, and they are almost identical. If you get one with an Intel processor, the two USB-C ports will be fast Thunderbolt 4 ones. Unfortunately, if you get an AMD model, these are the slower 3.2 Gen 2 10GB ones. Other than that, on the right side, both have a fast HDMI 2.1 port and a headphone mic combo jack. The smaller Zen 14 also has a micro SD card reader. On the left side, you've got a fast 10GB legacy USB-A port. One thing I don't like is that both charging capable ports are on the right side. If your outlet is on the left side, you'll have to run a power cable around the back, which may get in your way. The typing experience on both laptops is excellent, top tier. The keys have a very satisfying click to them and the keyboard layout is standard, so you won't have any annoying mishits like you do on keyboards with odd layouts. I even like how the power button is one key in from the top of the function row. This way, the more commonly used delete key is where it should be. Some laptops have the power button in this position, which can cause some mispresses. Also, page up, down, home and end keys are built into the arrow keys as secondary functions, and both keyboards are fully backlit. The trackpads on both laptops are good enough. Tracking is smooth and accurate, and clicking works reasonably well, especially as these laptops have mechanical clicking mechanisms. Normally, for these kind of trackpads, when you click in the bottom left and right corners, you lose accuracy. Overall though, the click, it just doesn't have quite that natural feel as you'd get on a MacBook. And both laptops do support the Asus number pad in Trackpad. We found with a light touch it worked pretty well. Let's take a look at performance. The Zenbook 14 that I have has a Ryzen 7730U processor. It uses AMD's incredibly confusing and totally misleading naming convention. The first digit being 7 means it was released in 2023, but it actually uses the Zen 3 architecture from a prior year, which you can tell by the third digit being a 3. It's also a U-series processor, so it is aimed at casual users rather than those requiring performance. My 14X on the other hand has a much more powerful Intel i7-13700H processor. Taking a look at Geekbench, which tests a variety of common performance tasks, the Zenbook 14 is just not a strong performer for a laptop in 2023. It performs worse than the HP Dragonfly with a similar processor. It has particularly poor performance in single core on the default standard fan profile. We thought that this data point was a mistake, but we retested several times and got the same result. The 14X on the other hand is a very good performer. It outperforms the Dell XPS 15 with the same processor, and when on performance mode is on par with a base model MacBook Pro 14 with M2. Switching to Cinebench, which tests how the laptop performs under full load. The Zenbook 14 continues to perform poorly in single core. In multi-core, like usual for this benchmark, the AMD Ryzen processor shines. That being said, it's still behind the performance of the HP Dragonfly with a similar processor. The Zenbook 14X in this benchmark is an absolute monster. It completely dominates, outperforming every other laptop. To test thermal performance of the laptop, we ran Cinebench on a loop for 10 minutes. The performance drop for both laptops was substantial. That's when in the default standard fan mode. It was less in the performance mode. This indicates that the laptop's cooling solutions are just not capable of keeping the processors inside cool for long, and that performance must be throttled. This is where the MacBooks shine. Their M2 processors are far more efficient than those from Intel or AMD. This is confirmed in the power draw graph. Both these laptops draw far more power than the Macs. This again reinforces the poorer efficiency of Intel and AMD. They need to draw so much power for the performance offered, and it generates a lot more heat, which is why you see the average power draws are substantially lower. The laptop must reduce power to keep the processor cool. FYI, the CPU core temperatures are actually decent. When it comes to temperatures you'd actually feel, for light use like browsing the web and working on Office documents, the Zenbook 14 remained very cool to the touch. The 14X though gets a little warm. It is noticeable if, like me, you're sensitive to that sort of thing, but I would say it's bearable. When it comes to the fan noise under light use, the Zenbook 14 was not great. If you're in a quiet room, the fans are frequently audible. Not loud, but you can hear them. The Zenbook 14X, on the other hand, was very quiet for this use case. However, when you do something that requires a bit of performance, like installing an application, you do hear some fan noise, and occasionally it is high-pitched, so it's noticeable. But the fans quickly return to quiet when the task is done. By the way, both laptops do have a quiet mode called Whisper. The power fed to the processor is dropped here, and so is performance. The Zenbook 14 on this mode was quieter, but you could still hear the fans occasionally in a quiet room, so not ideal. The 14X though was dead quiet on this mode and felt less warm to the touch. For high-performance tasks, the Zenbook 14's keyboard deck did get a bit warm, but nothing hugely concerning. The 14X performed very well here, especially how fast it is. It remained cool to the touch on the standard profile and only got a little warm on the performance profile. Fan noise when the laptops were on their performance modes was a disaster. They got very loud. I advise not using this mode at all. If you stick to the default standard profile like I recommend, the fan noise gets loud for this use case, but it's not out of line from competitors. On battery, there is a hit to the laptop's performance, unfortunately. In Cinebench, both seem to perform around 75% or so of what they would when plugged in. To test battery life, we dimmed the screens to 200 nits, then ran a Netflix video on repeat over Wi-Fi for 4 hours. And boy, did the Zenbook 14 shine, posting one of the best battery life results of any PC laptop we've ever tested. With its large battery and low wattage AMD processor, it had a whopping 70% battery remaining, indicating around 15 hours for this use case. It even beat out the MacBook Air with M2. The Zenbook 14X, unfortunately, with its Intel processor, was more run-of-the-mill with 54% battery remaining, indicating a tad over 8 hours for this use case. Both laptops offer fast login. The Zenbook 14 has a fingerprint reader, the Zenbook 14X has facial recognition. Here's the webcam on the Asus Zenbook 14, it's decent. Now here's the webcam on the Asus Zenbook 14X, also pretty decent. We did quite a bit of sound testing and we have some interesting results to share. The smaller Zenbook 14 is actually louder than the larger Zenbook 14X. However, the 14X's sound quality is substantially better. It's a fuller sound with noticeably more bass. Compared to Apple's laptops, which are the gold standard when it comes to laptop speakers, even though the Zenbook 14X's speakers are very good, the MacBook Pro 14 speakers are just still noticeably better. They are louder with even more bass. Both of the Zenbook speakers are better than the MacBook Air 13 with M2 though. One note, the Zenbooks rely on reflecting the sound off a desk. If you do lift them up, the sound quality drops dramatically. This doesn't occur with the MacBooks. By the way, both do have upgradable storage, but unfortunately the memory is soldered. So let's wrap by talking about pricing, because that's where these two laptops really shine. In the USA, the Zenbook 14 is available at Walmart starting from $700 and going to $900 for the 16GB of RAM model. This gets you a premium feeling portable laptop with a fantastic screen and keyboard and exceptional battery life. But the Ryzen version that we have has very basic performance and you do hear a bit of fan noise. Not a lot, but a bit. If you are just looking for a laptop for basic tasks like browsing the web and using Office, in this price range, we like it better than the Pavilion, Inspiron and IdeaPads that we recently tested, as well as the lower end Yoga 6 and 7 might I add. So a very good device at a great price. But now let's look at the 14X. It retails for $800 to $1,000 so just $100 more. At that price, it annihilates the competition, not even close. It's insanely powerful. It has a great screen, very comfortable keyboard, excellent speakers, and competitive battery life. Its fan noise and the temperatures you'd feel while using the laptop are also surprisingly decent for a device with this much power. And for its larger screen size, it is quite portable. This is an ideal laptop for anyone looking to get real work done. Anything from basic office tasks to intensive software development. The only reason to consider something else is if you need more powerful graphics, more memory, or you want to draw on the screen using the 2-in-1 capabilities that other laptops give you. The only laptops that we've tested that are a step up from this one are in a completely different price bracket, such as the MacBook Pro 14 with M2 or perhaps Lenovo's new Slim Pro 9i. If we look at the MacBook, that laptop does give you much better graphics, substantially less fan noise in real-world performance applications. I'm not referring to benchmarks. You also get a slightly better display, a better trackpad, slightly better speakers, and longer battery life. Plus, you have the option to upgrade to more memory. But that laptop is about double the price of this one. We aren't done though. I said at the beginning that the 14X is a groundbreaking device, and here is why. In the USA, it frequently has been going on sale for $250 to $300 off. I bought mine for $700 for the model with 16GB of RAM and an i7. At that price, this laptop is an outright weapon. It is not even in the same ballpark as competitors. It decimates the MacBook Air with M1. It eats Pavilions, Inspirons, and IdeaPads for breakfast. And for power users, it smashes mid-range Yogas and Envies. Even the XPSs and Spectres are not really worth considering given how much they cost over this laptop. In my opinion, Asus has completely changed the game in the sub $1,000 price range. And if you disagree, I want to hear which laptop beats this one at that price point. There will be links down below this video to the best possible prices for both these laptops, and we do keep those links up to date, by the way. This was a big video, so please show your support and make my mother proud by smashing the like button and getting subscribed. Oh, and make sure you check out my new channel on how to be successful in business. Link will be down below for that too. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I will catch you later.